In this video, we'll be discussing using reciprocal EMG triggered stimulation for foot drop treatment. The goal is to teach the client how to properly engage and disengage his or her plantar flexors in order to receive stimulation to the dorsiflexors. Oftentimes, the client's plantar flexors exhibit increased tone and weakness. The client typically lacks motor control and unable to consistently generate motor neuron recruitment in the posterior compartment of the leg. This inability to adequately contract the plantar flexors, along with being unable to shut off the aforementioned spastic muscles, will hinder the client's gait function. I would like to show you a video using RETS to improve plantar flexor control while receiving stimulation to the weakened dorsiflexors. As you can see from this stroke survivor, the client lacks dorsiflexion. He does not just have a weakened tibialis anterior, however. His plantar flexors are also very weak. He's unable to visibly raise his heel. To get started with the RETS treatment, we will use the Channel A lead to place 2 stimulation electrodes over the dorsiflexor muscle group. The stimulation electrodes will be blue and yellow. You can use either of the electrodes, proximal or distal. Once the electrodes are in position, turn on the unit and increase the current being delivered until you get a sufficient contraction. Once you are pleased with the stimulation being delivered to the dorsiflexors, it is then time to address the plantar flexors. You'll use channel B, which is EMG channel. There are 2 electrodes that you will place on the plantar flexors, the blue and the yellow, and a black electrode which can be placed anywhere on the body. That's your reference electrode. You will then look at the EMG display screen on the unit and ask the client to raise his or her heel to fire their plantar flexors. This will determine if you are satisfied with the EMG electrode placement based on the signal generated. The next step is to apply stimulation to the dorsiflexors and adjust the activation and deactivation thresholds for the plantar flexors. The client now has the ability to practice contract and relax of the plantar flexors while receiving stimulation to the dorsiflexors. Please note, with this client, his plantar flexors are extremely weak, so the activation and deactivation thresholds were set below 10 microvolts to make the task a successful experience. As he pushes down on the foam ball, he is firing his very weak plantar flexors and exceeding the activation threshold. The client then relaxes or shuts off the plantar flexors to fall below the deactivation threshold. This relaxation of his hypertonic plantar flexors triggers a stimulation to the dorsiflexors. Instead of using a foam ball, consider using TheraBand. When the client pushes against the TheraBand and activates the plantar flexors, they exceed the activation threshold. Then as the client relaxes and falls below the deactivation threshold, stimulation is triggered to the dorsiflexors to raise the toe. The TheraBand also assists passively with dorsiflexing the foot. So using TheraBand in conjunction with the RETS is also another good foot drop treatment.